My husband brought home a python without even asking me, saying it's always been his childhood dream, but now it's become my worst nightmare and I'm not sure our marriage will survive. We used to have smaller snakes, a corn snake named Waffles, then a harmless garter. When Waffles died, my husband talked about trying a milk snake instead. I wasn't thrilled, but I trusted him. He'd handled reptiles before. Then 2 months later, he waltzed in holding a baby Burmese python. No heads up, no chance to protest. His eyes shone like a kid who found buried treasure. Me? I stood frozen. My anxiety shot through the roof. Burmese pythons can grow 15 feet or more, live for 20 years, and devour large prey. We also have a cat. My mind raced with stories of giant snakes injuring pets or people. My husband just shrugged and said, "It's always been my dream." I tried coping. I locked our cat in the bedroom each night, which meant restless meows that kept us awake. The python quickly hit 6 feet. My husband worked late, so I got stuck feeding it. Rabbits and piglets cost a fortune. The enclosure was already too small, yet he wanted to build something bigger, which we had no space or money for. Every time I brought it up, he called me paranoid, accused me of not caring about his happiness, or claimed I was prejudiced against big reptiles. That's what finally did it. He ignored my fears. I decided we had to rehome the python. He refused, so I packed my cat and me into the car and stayed at my mom's place for a night. He called me, furious that I'd let a snake ruin our marriage, but I kept thinking, no, you ruined it when you lied and dismissed me. A friend of his, a venomous snake breeder, came over, and the moment he saw our python setup, he tore into my husband, called him irresponsible, said jumping from small snakes to a Burmese was reckless. Suddenly, my husband caved. We arranged for a reptile rescue to take the python. I watched him give it up, looking crushed. But the second that python left, I felt relief. Only then did it come out that he'd lied from the start. He'd planned the Burmese purchase online while feeding me stories about a small milk snake. He even crossed state lines, breaking the law. In therapy, he promised to change. But at home, he'd drop comments like, maybe a ball python next? My trust shattered all over again. I realized I didn't see him the same way. The endless chores I used to handle, cooking, cleaning, finances, now felt like me parenting a grown man. Love turned into frustration. Eventually, I told him, "I can't respect you anymore." He looked hurt, but it was the truth. We separated a few weeks later. The python now lives on a reptile ranch, presumably thriving. My husband and I tried therapy again, but the damage was done. It wasn't the snake itself, it was the deception, the disregard for my fears, the sheer cost of his dream. And that's how our marriage fell apart over one ill-advised impulse. But looking back, I see it wasn't really about the python at all. It was about trust. And once that broke, no giant enclosure in the world could hold us together.